Greetings, true believers, and welcome to another villainous episode of History of the Marvel Universe. Today's tale begins at an aircraft parts factory in New York State. Here we meet master mechanic Abner Jenkins, who had worked there for 7 long years. Abner was a genius in his field, but his lack of formal education prevented him from advancing further in his career, and his bosses dismissed most of his advanced designs as radical ideas. Frustrated and desperate to prove himself, he began planning something dramatic. After obtaining enough parts, whether through legal means or otherwise, Jenkins completed his first strength-enhancing flying battlesuit and crafted the costumed identity of the Beetle. He initially sought to test his mettle against 2 members of the Fantastic Four, beginning a crime spree to lure out the Human Torch and the Thing. While Jenkins had some success against the 2 heroes, he was inevitably defeated and the Beetle was arrested and imprisoned. However, after making parole, he began plotting his revenge. During his second outing, the Beetle was again defeated, this time by the mismatched pairing of Spider-Man and the Human Torch. Following this, Jenkins concluded that revenge was a fruitless effort and instead decided to use his armor for personal gain. This criminal career led him to battling costumed heroes such as Spider-Man and Daredevil multiple times. Failing to acquire the wealth and respect he desired, the Beetle found employment under the notorious underworld financier Justin Hammer, and became one of the many costumed villains that Hammer utilized against his nemesis Iron Man. While Iron Man badly damaged the Beetle's armor in their first encounter, Jenkins used the opportunity to rebuild and improve it with the help of the notorious criminal mechanic, the Tinkerer. With his new suit, the Beetle joined with various groups such as the Masters of Evil and the Sinister Syndicate, but his criminal enterprises still ultimately ended in failure. After numerous battles with the likes of Spider-Man, Silver Sable, and others, Abner Jenkins began to grow weary of his life of crime. He hit his lowest point after assembling a gang for a series of simple robberies, only to be betrayed and abandoned by his own subordinates. However, shortly after this, the Beetle was found and recruited by the notorious Nazi supervillain Baron Zemo. It was around this time that some of Earth's greatest heroes engaged in an epic battle against the creature known as Onslaught. In the aftermath of that battle, the Fantastic Four and the mighty Avengers were missing and presumed dead, seemingly having sacrificed themselves to stop the monster. With his greatest enemies gone, Zemo hatched a sinister plot to capitalize on their absence. He crafted new identities for himself and his Masters of Evil, forming a new team of heroes known as the Thunderbolts, to fill in the gap left behind by the Avengers. This, of course, was a ploy to win the trust of the people while secretly plotting world domination. And so, the Beetle became Mach-X, his armor and capabilities having been upgraded by his teammate the Fixer. However, as Mach-X, Jenkins began to appreciate his heroic new role. Not only that, but he also began to grow close with his teammate Melissa Gold, aka Songbird, and the two started a romance. And so, when Baron Zemo's plans were exposed, Abe Jenkins was among those who turned against him. After this, at the behest of the Commission on Superhuman Activities, or CSA, the Avenger Hawkeye infiltrated the remaining Thunderbolts under the guise of the Dread Knight to learn their intentions. Convinced of their sincerity, Hawkeye, once considered a villain himself, offered to lead the team and thus help legitimize the Thunderbolts. However, this was on the condition that Abner Jenkins, the only known killer in the group, surrender to police custody. You see, back when Jenkins was a member of the Sinister Syndicate, he, as the Beetle, murdered a criminal doctor who owed gambling debts to the Kingpin. And so, if the former villain truly wished to reform, he would need to face the consequences of his past and repay his debt to society. After some serious introspection and consideration, Jenkins agreed to the terms. And while imprisoned at Seagate Penitentiary, Abner impressed the CSA when he covertly helped end a prison riot. At the behest of the CSA, Jenkins built a new tank-like Beetle armor that he piloted remotely to use in a sting operation against his old employer, Justin Hammer. After that, Hawkeye was able to blackmail the CSA into secretly releasing Jenkins while having all official documents listing him as incarcerated. And so Jenkins rejoined the Thunderbolts with a new flight suit as Mach-X. He also took a new civilian identity, Matthew Davis, and altered his appearance with the help of the Thunderbolts' new recruit, Ogre, who was secretly his old ally, the Fixer. This led to some awkwardness when the Fixer gave Jenkins the outward appearance of an African-American man. As uncomfortable as the Fixer's little prank was, it did lead Jenkins, as Davis, to experience some racial discrimination firsthand, and he continued to grow as a person and a hero. He and Songbird briefly retired to quiet suburban lives, but Jenkins soon returned as Mach-3 to help the Thunderbolts battle the villain Graviton. However, he eventually came to the conclusion that, due to Hawkeye's blackmailing of the CSA, he had cheated his way out of the consequences of his actions. The Fixer provided Jenkins with a method of changing himself back to his original appearance, and he surrendered himself once again. After serving his sentence and legitimately earning parole, Jenkins returned to the life of a hero and helped restart the Thunderbolts as Mach-4. After this, he continued to iterate on his armor multiple times, eventually becoming Mach-X. As Mach-X, Abe was last seen battling the forces of Baron Zemo alongside the Thunderbolts and the Winter Soldier, a battle that ended when the sentient cosmic cube, Kobik, destroyed their base. While Mach-X seemingly perished in the blast, his body was never recovered, so I doubt we've seen the last of Abner Jenkins. And in the meantime, Abe isn't the only person to have used the costumed identity of the Beetle. The second Beetle was a woman by the name of Leila Davis. Leila's husband was Anthony Davis, the costumed criminal known as the Ringer. Anthony wanted to abandon his brief life of crime, but in his days as the Beetle, Jenkins threatened and blackmailed the Ringer into battling Spider-Man. As a result of his continued villainy, the Ringer was among those killed by the notorious vigilante only known as the Scourge of the Underworld. Leila Davis vowed revenge on Abner Jenkins and infiltrated the Sinister Syndicate. While she attempted to take out Jenkins, she was stopped by Spider-Man, resulting in her arrest. Davis returned as the armored villain Hardshell, but she soon discovered that her husband was still alive, having been transformed into a cyborg by the sinister scientists of Advanced Idea Mechanics. Anthony managed to convince his wife to turn away from her path of revenge, but it seems his resurrection was a temporary boon, and when the cybernetics keeping him alive failed, Anthony Davis peacefully passed away. Leila decided to do right by her husband and turned herself in, but the Commission on Superhuman Activities decided they could use her. They gave her the tank-like Beetle armor that Jenkins had designed and used while working with them, and Leila Davis became the second Beetle and a member of the CSA-controlled team, the Redeemers. Unfortunately, Davis was killed in battle when the Redeemers took on the powerful supervillain Graviton. This wasn't the end of the Beetle armor, however, as the CSA had been recovering and storing all of Jenkins' damaged suits. 3 students of Rutgers University evidently stole the Beetle tech from a CSA warehouse and rebuilt the armors. And so, Joachim Robichaux, Elizabeth Vaughn, and Gary Quinn became the new Beetles. The Thunderbolts were dispatched to apprehend them, and the new Beetles were recruited as part of the 50-State Initiative, a government program meant to have a super team in each state. While these Beetles showed potential while training under Abner Jenkins, they never saw much action, and their whereabouts since the defunding of the initiative are unknown. However, there is one more person to since adopt the identity of the Beetle: Janice Lincoln. Janice was the daughter of the notorious criminal enforcer Tombstone. Witty and intelligent, Janice successfully graduated from Columbia Law School, albeit with some help from her father's ill-gotten fortune. She became a financial lawyer like her father wanted, but Janice always wanted something greater. She wanted to be a crime boss. She wanted to be a supervillain. After several years, she finally found her opportunity when she was called on to mediate a financial dispute between Baron Zemo and the Fixer. In addition to drawing up the agreements between the two, Janice Lincoln volunteered to help Zemo in his scheme to discredit and defeat Bucky Barnes, who at the time was acting as Captain America. The Fixer outfitted Janice with a new Beetle suit, giving her enhanced strength and the power of flight much like her predecessor. While the new Beetle was defeated by Captain America and the Black Widow during her first outing, Zemo and the Fixer considered her disposable, allowing her to keep the Beetle armor. Since then, the new Beetle has joined forces with some of the original's old allies in one incarnation of the Sinister Six. And much like Abner Jenkins in his early days, Janice Lincoln continues to seek respect and fortune as the Beetle. But thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like, share the video, and subscribe for more Marvelous content. Be sure to leave a comment letting me know what Marvel hero or villain you want to hear about next, and as always, the issues referenced in this video are listed in the description below if you would like to read them for yourself, as well as links to other places you can find me. So until next time, true believers, Excelsior!